offense, it's a huge stat, time of possession, because the defense is they don't want the defense on the field as much as possible just because that secondary is so concerning to Michigan. So I think being able to hold the ball, having that ball control with Denard Robinson, 5 third down conversions on that one drive, I mean, it's just something that is really crucial for the Wolverines to keep having.
Now, what about the defense, guys? Because 343 total yards is not 2006 Michigan defense for sure. But, David, do you think this defense is for real? Or do you think this defense is heading in the right direction, certainly an improvement, but not quite?
Certainly heading in the right direction. I think the front six is very solid, and the front six can do some great things. And it does depend a lot on their pass rushing ability and the pressure they can get on a quarterback, because the secondary we know is kind of sketchy right now. So it all depends on that front six keeping the secondary out of bad situations.
And, of course, Carvin Johnson, doubtful for Saturday's game against Notre Dame.
Very doubtful, and that's not a good sign with such a shallow secondary that's already out there. And a lot of drop balls on behalf of UConn, 18 for 37, as Frazier was. And a lot of those were drop balls, and most teams aren't going to drop that many balls. So it's certainly something that's still a bit of a concern.
It's somewhat heartening to see teams come to the Big House and really look scared and nervous to play in the Big House. At least that's what it seemed like, UConn was. There were a lot of those little, bubble screens out to the sides that, could have been caught for 1 yard, but instead were dropped. Looked like they were a little bit worried. Now, of course, every good game at Michigan, at least in the last couple of years, comes with its own controversy and its own, negative storyline. And, of course, that would be Tate Forcier, our good friends at AnnArbor.com, reporting that Tate said, "I'm out," when asked about what he thought about the game. Once again, fueling Tate transfer rumors, which we've heard many, many times. Of course, I prefer my Tate transferring rumors from Melanie Collins, not from Mike Rothstein.
Well,
that's for different reasons.
What are you going to do?
But, of course, this anti-Tate sentiment that we've been talking about has been expressed for a long time, most notably when Troy Wolfolk talked about Tate being diseased at Big Ten Media Days.
I think the vibe actually switches up every now and then.
Well,
like as of last year, I personally felt that I could win with Tate, the way he played against Notre Dame, the way he can stay composed under pressure. But now, it kind of switched, or I don't want to say switched, but someone else has gotten in that vibe. So I can also win with this quarterback, was Denard, the way his work ethic, the way he's constantly getting better, the way he played good in the spring game. So I just think that the vibe is incorporating other quarterbacks soon. Devin Gardner might be in that vibe.
So just to be clear, he didn't say disease there. He said the team has a Devin and Denard vibe there, but he did say diseased earlier, and that was a much quoted thing that you saw read on the internet and in newspapers. But I guess what the question is, and we'll start with you, David, if Tate did transfer, of course, Devin played the few snaps that Denard was hurt for. Mike Forcier, Tate's dad, says, well, we knew that some discipline was coming for the lack of training, whatever, over the summer. If Tate transfers, you have two quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, and I think it'll be all okay, because I think Rich Rodriguez knows it doesn't need to be a Denard vibe or a anybody vibe. It needs to be a winning vibe. And I think Michigan's going to put the people on the field who give them the best chance to win. If Tate Forcier isn't that person, if his teammates don't respect him, then so long. I mean, it's not the first Forcier that's left the program, and I don't think that Michigan really needs that kind of vibe. I think they need the winning vibe.
I mean, Troy might have been right. The Forciers may have the transfer disease, if nothing else, because all those kids are transferred multiple times, Adam. But, I mean, we have seen this movie before, and it was in Ryan Mallett. It was called Ryan Mallett. He might win the Heisman Trophy this year. At least he's in the conversation legitimately. So, I mean, are you all concerned that we might be pitching Tate Forcier after one game, to the rubbish heap?
Yeah, I would say don't throw him under the bus just yet. Tate's a competitor. We saw that last year. He did see, his body language on the sidelines was not one that was a positive attitude. He had a towel hanging over his head. He was sitting on the bench. He wasn't really involved with the team. It's something we saw in the spring game, and it's certainly something we saw the other day.
And to be fair, just to play devil's advocate, we saw that We saw that with Denard some last year too when Tate was playing. So always have to sit on the bench when you think you could be doing something for the team.
I did love that Troy Wolfolk had the guts to call out Tate, though. It showed some senior leadership on this team.
That's true, and it got verified by the coaches with the wingless helmets and whatnot. Well, we won't throw Tate Forcier under the bus, but we will throw you under the bus for 30 seconds. On the other end, we'll talk about what happened in C-Bus. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Varsity Blue. Alex Prasad, Adam Brewster, David Nows. That was a really long 30 seconds, huh?
Oh, especially long. Seemed like a minute.
Yeah, it seemed like a full minute. Well, anyway, you must be keeping track of time poorly here. Anyway, let's take a look at what happened around the Big Ten. No games decided in the last 30 seconds, that's for sure. Not a very interesting week. Two of note, the two losses the Big Ten had, but regular, good old-fashioned tomato cans visiting almost every other school in the Big Ten besides the Big House. Illinois loses to Missouri, as Adam Brewster pointed out. When has Illinois ever beaten Missouri in that game?
Never.
He believes never. It's probably not true. It's probably like once in the last 100 years. And then, of course, Purdue losing to Notre Dame. We'll talk a lot about Notre Dame a little bit later. But look at the standings. Michigan
on
first
top.
Place.
Hey.
First place. I'm just gonna keep this moment of silence to reflect on how great that is. Of course, not very interesting. And then Illinois and Purdue down there at the bottom. But some interesting results. Of course, Ohio State kicked off to Marshall to start the game. Marshall fumbled the first kickoff, and Ohio State immediately scored a touchdown. If you are much more optimistic about Michigan's season after the opening game, David, are you that much more pessimistic about their chances of winning in Columbus in mid-November after seeing Ohio State just completely and totally dominate Marshall?
I don't think so, because, I mean, after all, it is Marshall. And the thing is, we need to see Michigan have that type of killer instinct if we're going to even consider them in the same conversation as a team like Ohio State. Ohio State's proven that they're a pretty good team. There are some doubts about players like Terrell Pryor. But with that being said, I think Michigan has to prove their worth before we even start worrying about the Ohio State game. There's still 10 more contests before that.
That was just ridiculous. Dane Stausenbacher just running like 15 yards with that cornerback hanging off his back. But, Adam, the thing that bothers me is Ohio State, nearly lost to Navy last year. That was still a very good team.
Oh, yeah.
So if they really have, proven they can be consistent enough to take teams like Marshall that should lose, 800-0 in Columbus and actually beat them 800-0, is this an Ohio State team that has taken a leap? Cam Hayward came back for his senior year. A lot of guys came back, and this is the national championship season. That's their whole MO. Is it the national championship season?
That's their goal. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but again, it is Marshall. I think that Navy game was a wake-up last year saying, boys, we can't do this again. Jim Tressel's a good coach, and he had them ready to play for that first game. Right. And they did what they were supposed to do, and nothing else.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Now, how about
Illinois 7-13 versus Missouri? So I was wrong. I was wrong.
So you were wrong about 6 of the last 20 games. Thank you for that update, guys. So let's talk about Illinois just for a second, just because I love to talk about Ron Zook. The number one reason I like to talk about Ron Zook now, besides his awful rendition of taking out the ball game
at
Wrigley Field, is he just looks like he doesn't want to be wherever he is. It looks like it just sucks to be Ron Zook. I mean,
it does.
He's going to get fired at the end of the year, right?
FireRonZook.com. It's got to be back up. It's got to be back up.
I don't think it ever came down. I think
it just got transferred from someone in Gainesville to someone in Champaign.
Well, they had the one Rose Bowl year, which was a big fluke.
Wow.
But, and then Purdue. Thank ESPN for making Robert Marve, David Nows, like the next Ryan Mallett up until the reality of what happened on Saturday.
Well, the only reason people know who Robert Marve is if you're a Miami, Florida fan, because he had that one freshman year where he was a serviceable freshman quarterback.
Right.
And I think you see now he's just an average Big Ten quarterback, if that. And I don't think Purdue got quite what was advertised by the ESPN hype machine.
Right. I mean, 12 points against a Notre Dame defense that's supposed to be pretty weak.
Only one touchdown of those 12 points, too. And we saw Robert Marve the hype machine can do a lot of things. It certainly built up UConn to be someone who we didn't think they were going to be.
Well, maybe Michigan's.
Things. It certainly built up UConn to be someone who we didn't think they were going to be.
Well, maybe Michigan's just that good.
It could be. Hey, why not?
Well, speaking of overwhelming optimism, we're going to move on to our full season predictions. We were going to have a preseason episode, but we had some technical difficulties. But we'll show you the prediction at the end. We're going to talk about a couple of strategic games first. So now, David and I both had Michigan at 4-0. We promised you we didn't change our predictions after what happened Saturday. True story, 4-0. You, though, had Michigan losing to Notre Dame.
I did.
Are you going to stick to your guns later in the show? A quick preview?
I'm cautiously
he might change his mind in
optimistic.
the next 10 minutes here.
Yes.
But